Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Heath Mullikin Project, the podcast where we're trying to help you discover your purpose, your passion, and your possibilities. And it is the Christmas season, and this morning at church, I heard a great sermon on joy, and it reminded me of something that I created a few years ago. I think I've talked about it on this podcast before, but it bears repeating. And I created this thing I like to call the joy funnel. Because here's the thing about joy. Joy is something that is foundational in our life. Now, I believe as a Christian that really joy is impossible without a relationship with Jesus Christ. Because I remember my old Sunday school teacher, the way that they described joy was taking the letters J-O-Y. Joy is when you have these things in perfect alignment. Jesus, others, and yourself. And so I think joy comes when we are living out that verse to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. When we are doing that, then our joy is not affected by circumstance. It's not affected by external things. Now, happiness, demeanor, mood, all of those things can be shaken by the foundations of the world and the things around us. But to me, joy is this thing that is this bedrock foundation that God can give us. It doesn't mean we're not going to be afraid. It helps us overcome fear. It doesn't mean we're not going to have hard times. It helps us overcome hard times. So what I wanted to do in my life, because you hear the phrase sometimes, this stole my joy, this robbed me of my peace, and things like that. So I wanted to create a funnel that flowed into my life of the things that were important to me, that when I felt that bedrock foundation cracking or shifting a little bit, I could return to these things. And these are things that feed my joy. These are the things that pour into me. These are the things that really help me continually become who God created me to be. They are things that bring me joy, that remind me of my purpose, that remind me not to focus on the circumstances, but to focus on the one who holds it all in his hand. So the first layer for me was this layer of values that in my life I needed to understand what my personal values were. What is my core moral code that I'm going to live by? Now, for each of these things, there's 4 things in the joy funnel. For each of them, there's a book, a resource that I want to share with you that have really helped me kind of nail down some of those things. So to really kind of understand what your values are, I want to recommend to you the book, The Deeper Life by Daniel Henderson. This is, if you're a pastor looking at this, or maybe just a Christian, this is, this is the discipleship book. This really better than other than the Bible, obviously. This book helps a person understand who God is, understand, because it answers 8 core questions, 8 longings of the soul. It walks you through step by step and helps you write out and develop your personal theology, your personal values, your strengths. This is just, I cannot recommend this book highly enough. It is one that I'm going to be taking some students through at Southern Wesleyan here in the coming weeks. When I was pastoring Oakway Wesleyan, this is a book we went through as a church. As a matter of fact, this is actually my second copy of the book. My first copy fell apart. My first copy, I dug into it so much, I read it so much, wrote in it so much, it literally fell apart. So this is actually my second copy. Highly recommend this book. And as you go through the book, you will start to understand what are your core values. Now, for Christians, there's going to be a lot of our values that are the same. They should be the same. There's going to be things that kind of unite us. But for us as individuals, a couple of my values may be a little different than yours. There may be things in my life that I think are more important for me, for my personal, for my joy. But again, anyway, Deeper Life by Daniel Henderson. You can pick it up on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. So values is the first thing. What are the guiding principles of my life? The second thing is motivations. What are the things that fire me up? What are what is it when when I'm not feeling it? What is the thing that, like, all right, this is going to motivate me? If I know I get to do this, what is gonna motivate me? Ironically, and I'll get to why this is ironic, is the book I want to recommend is, I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, The Motivation Code by Todd Henry. Todd Henry is a great author. I have several of his books. Die Empty is a great book of his. This book goes through, and what they've done is they've kind of examined the different types of motivations, and then what that means. If you're motivated in this way, this is what you love. This is something you like to do. And what I found in the motivation code is, one of the things I like to do is this. I like to discover new things and share them with other people. And so for me, if I'm ever in a situation where I kind of feel, again, that my foundation kind of cracking, I'm asking myself, okay, am I living out my values? And then am I living into my motivations? One of the things, since I've not been pastoring a local church and not preaching every Sunday, that is something I really love to do. That is something that was like a weekly rhythm that was motivating me. And so now I've had to, I'm trying to find other ways to scratch that itch of this motivation of teaching, this motivation of just sharing what I've learned with other people, which I think is one of the reasons I really love podcasting. I really love this medium. But this book, it's a challenging read. It's an easy read. But then it's got a quiz in it. That's kind of where the real meat and potatoes are, is taking this quiz, and for me, kind of discovering, okay, these are the things that motivate me. These are things that I love to do. And there's going to be times in my life where I'm feeling a little unsettled, that I can go back to this. I can go back to my motivations and kind of dive into that, and it's going to feed into my joy. It's going to increase my joy. The next thing is strengths. If I know what my core values, guiding principles are, I'm motivated. I'm doing things I love to do. And the next thing is strengths. Now, there are a ton of strengths books out there. I would encourage you. I think it's $35. You can take the online strength finders test. One book that I really enjoyed was Marcus Buckingham's StandOut. He is one of the thought leaders in the area of strengths. One book I would also recommend to you is a book by Arthur Brooks called From Strength to Strength. And it's about how, when you hit middle age, you realize that the things that got you to where you are not the things that are going to sustain you later on in life. So it's a great book. But StandOut takes a lot of those strength finders. Again, this book's got a quiz that you take. One of the things I learned when I read StandOut was two of my strengths were connector and pioneer. So number one, I like connecting people together. People that have never met but may have things in common, and may have the ability to have a thriving, growing, relationship that would be beneficial. Maybe it's two business leaders that a relationship would kind of help both their businesses grow, or maybe it's connecting. I love connecting especially in the church, love connecting people with different ministries. I love, one of the things I love about my job is connecting students with church opportunities, internships, those things like that. But also that pioneer is, I like kind of starting new things. I like charting new territory, tilling untilled soil, those kind of things. But again, this is a great book. If you've not taken a strengths test, highly recommend. One of the things in the Deeper Life that it will take you through, or it gives you different resources, and there's free versions of this, is a spiritual gifts test. And that is also, that would be a part of this strengths thing, is what are your spiritual gifts? Because when you understand what your spiritual gifts are, using those gifts are going to bring you joy. Like if you have the gift of hospitality and you haven't been hosting people, if you haven't been exercising that gift, then obviously your joy tank is kind of going to be cracking. It's kind of going to be depleted. But if you know your spiritual gifts, if you know your strengths that God has blessed you with, your strengths, your natural talents, and you can start living in those, it really just reinforces that foundation. It reinforces you in a way that is going to help you help others. And that really is the essence of joy. Again, it's Jesus, it's others, yourself. And at the core of all this, please don't miss this. When you get into the deeper life, when those values you got to pour into every day. Like if your values is to be an honest and holy person, that's daily time with God. That's daily prayer. That's being in the Word. So don't miss that. It's not just about these external books. This is daily stuff you got to do. Or that again is what will rob you of your joy. If you're not investing in your joy every day, if you're not invested in your relationship with Christ, your relationship with others, your relationship with yourself, then you're not going to have joy. And here's the last one. And again, what was this podcast about? Purpose, passion, possibilities. Passion Plan by Richard Chang. This is a book that I read actually when I was writing a book for Wesleyan Publishing House. We were writing some devotional books, and this was a book I discovered that was super helpful about how, I was a youth pastor at the time, and I was just very focused on this. How can we help students discover what they're passionate about? Because I think we have a generation now, there's so many kids that they're not passionate about anything. Or the things they are passionate about are not necessarily things that are going to feed them long term. They're not things that are going to feed them spiritually, emotionally, academically. Those aren't bad things, but they're not necessarily passions that are productive and are going to make a difference in the world. So Richard Chang does a great job of just walking through different ways, not just for us to discover our passions, but this is a great way to walk alongside others in helping them discover their passions, which for me, that goes back to one of my motivations, is helping people discover their passions. That's one of the reasons I do this podcast, is to get people thinking about purpose, passion, possibilities. And when I am really speaking into that and being able to connect one-on-one with people or maybe in a group, that is something I'm passionate about, is helping people live with a fire. And that's what passion is. Passion is that thing that gets you fired up. It is that thing that gets you out of bed. And when you know what you're passionate about, okay, and you know what your strengths are, what you're good at, and I believe that God, He lines all these things up. He takes our values, our core principles, the things that are guiding us. That's our compass. That's our moral compass. And then He gives us those internal and external motivations. And then He blesses us with with talents and strengths. And these are things we need to work on. I think if you have a natural talent, whether it's singing or athletic ability or whatever, it's a skill you need to be honing. And then when you get into your passion, that thing that really gets you fired up. And for me, when all those things are in alignment and I'm living and I'm seeking that true north and I am living out who God created me to be in the best way possible, that's when my joy is overflowing. I told someone that my goal, I don't even know how to put this into words. I had an experience this year. I've talked about it with individuals. I don't know that I've ever talked about it publicly. I had an experience this year. We were on a cruise in May. And I knew when I went on the cruise that I was missing something. It wasn't my relationship with God was good. I felt like I had peace in many areas of my life. I felt, very, fulfilled in my calling and those types of things. But I felt like I was missing something. And I just kind of set aside. I said, okay, Lord, we're going to be on this trip and I want part of this vacation, part of this trip. I want to seek your face. I want to spend time with you, and I want to use this time, away to just figure this out. And I know that you can provide what I feel like I'm missing. And I will never forget. I literally walked up and I was just going to walk around the kind of the deck of the boat and walk along the railing. And I just stopped at one of the railings. And it was just a moment. And I can't even put it into words. Like, I just felt something. Like, it's like you feel like, it's like when you are looking for your keys or your wallet. And you're looking for them, and you don't know where they are, and you're kind of panicking, and you don't really know what you're going to do, and then you find them. And there's a sense of relief, there's a sense of peace, but there's a sense of, okay, now I can go do what I was planning to do. And that's what it was for me. And as I've looked back, and I've kind of analyzed that moment, I think a couple of things happened. Number one, I think I was lacking some self-confidence. I think through some experiences over the last 15 or 20 years, there were different experiences that I went through that had kind of robbed me of my self-confidence, that in my joy funnel of all these things, there was this missing piece, and it was this belief in all of that, this belief in myself, that I was really capable of what God had created me to do and to be. And once I came back, I remember talking to a friend, and I said, I don't know what happened to me on that boat, but I am going to be, my goal is to be annoyingly joyful. And I know annoying is it could be a bad word, but for me, it's not about being annoyingly chipper or happy. I want to be unshakable in my joy. That means I'm not going to be angry or sad or lonely or doubtful sometimes, but at the core of my being, that foundational rock, my joy, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I want to be so about that. I want to feed that so much. I want to feed into that in a way where my joy overflows and it is unmistakable. It's unmistakable and it is clear. Okay, that's not That's not humanly possible. There's something different here. What the heck is going on with that? That's kind of what I wanted to be. And it was, I mean, again, I don't know what the Lord did, but I'm grateful that he did. And it changed my life, and it has helped me when I faced some tough times here in the last couple months. I have sensed that. I have sensed this peace, this core, deep down at the cellular level, deep down in my bones, just this unshakable joy. And so as we're in this Christmas season, joy is one of the major themes. It is one of the major topics of the Christmas season. And that's why I want to talk about this, because for me, as I entered church today, I don't want, I think, I don't want to have to get in the Christmas mood. To me, the Christmas mood is joy that should be 12 months out of the year. I don't want to have to get fired up for Christmas. I want to always be fired up, because Christmas is all the time, man. God is with us, and that's something to be excited about. That is something to be joyful about. So if you have any questions or comments, wherever you're watching this or listening to this, you can leave a comment. You can really help us out. You can share the links. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can share the page, the Heath Mullikin Project. I would love to connect with you. You can send me a personal message on Facebook. I'm on all social media, X and Instagram, and I'm even on like Blue Sky and Threads, and it's Heath Mullikin. That is, you just got to look up Heath Mullikin, and there was something else I got on the other day, some other social media, but I'm on all of them because, again, I want to be annoyingly joyful. I want to spread the good news. I want to spread Christmas cheer January through December, but above all that, I want to help you discover your purpose, your passion, and your possibilities. That is what the Heath Mullikin Project is all about. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Or if you're watching this in May, have a happy day. Have a merry day. Have a joyful day. God bless, and we'll see you soon.